Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Empowered You Masterclass. I'm your host, Nita Ewald. Today's special guest is Andrea Ryder. Andrea is a holistic fertility expert specializing in the mind-body approach to fertility. She uses a combo of Reiki, intuition, and mindset coaching to move women through the physical and emotional blocks impeding them from conceiving naturally. Her book, How to Get Pregnant Even When You Have Tried Everything, a mind-body guide to fertility, will be on shelves in Barnes& Noble, July 2018. Though based in New York City, she works with women all over the world to empower them on their journey to motherhood. Welcome to the event, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here to talk about the mind and body approach to fertility because I think a lot of women or couples, overlook that aspect of wellness. But before we dive into the questions about the mind-body approach to fertility, I would like to know as to how you chose fertility to become the focus of your work.
I would say that I didn't choose it. It chose me, which is great. But so I was I've been in energy medicine for a long time, but I was working with people with chronic pain, cancer, and the main tenet of my work is that there's an emotional cause to the physical issue, and once we address that emotional cause, the physical issue doesn't need to be there. So I had been talking with my sister-in-law about it, and she had 2 miscarriages and was having a really hard time, and fertility treatments weren't working. And I didn't think she would be open to energy stuff, but I was like, do you want to do a session and see what happens? And we did, and we began working together, and 6 months later, my nephew was conceived, who I want to eat because he's so cute. And I just was like, oh my God, like this is a thing. Like so many people are struggling with this, and they're only approaching it from this clinical, medical, cold place. And like just by shifting her blocks around, she had some external issues like doing too much at work, having too much on her plate, but also a lot of fear because her body had been through miscarriages, and her brain was afraid to be pregnant again because it didn't want to go through that again. So it's releasing emotional blocks, changing some external things. And there's a little human walking around because she was able to shift that. And like, every time I talk about her, like my sister-in-law, and I have a nephew now. And so I was like, oh my God. So from that second, that just did something to me. And I was just like, it's fertility, and I haven't looked back. So I love that I get to do this every day. So.
Oh, I love that story. Yes, that's always inspiring to me, how someone can find the purpose of they do, so because a lot of fertility coach or practitioners that focus on fertility just because of their own journey,
Right.
So like myself,
to that.
Yeah.
But I did find that, like besides my sister-in-law, my best friend was dealing with it. My husband's friends' wives, it just seems like they just started coming out of the woodwork. I was like, oh my God, this is I'm sure everybody who's listening knows 1 in 6 women deal with this. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Not talked about. And so I'm glad you're doing this summit, because I think the more aware people are about, there are other opportunities and other things I could be working on. So
yeah. So what do you feel that is the real reason for the fertility struggles, from women that are diagnosed with PCOS or endometriosis? So those are really with diagnosed to unexplained infertility, like me. I had unexplained infertility. So can you explain what what do you feel the real reason is?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what I feel is the reason. I'm sure, may not be for other people, but in my experience, in my fertility practice, whether it is, like I mentioned before, for me, there's an emotional cause to the physical issue. Once we deal with that emotional issue, the physical doesn't need to be there, because the body is taking orders from your brain. That's the command center. And so a lot of times we feel like my body is failing me. Why won't it get on board? Like, if it would just do this thing, and we kind of are at odds with our body, and our body's like, dude, like, I'm just taking orders from you. And so, I think a lot, there are so many reasons within that sphere of there's something emotional going on. That can be, there's too much at work, family pressure, relationship isn't good, past relationship stuff that you haven't dealt with. PCOS and fibroids have to do with nursing old hurts, usually with relationships. So, and even if like, you're like, oh, that was 10 years ago, who cares? Like, you've moved on because you have to, because it's life and we have to keep going, but it still stays in your body. And if that doesn't get processed, that's when those little pods of whatever get, manifest into something physical. Mm-hmm. So I've seen everything from stage 4 endometriosis to PCOS to unexplained to male infertility, you name it. Pretty much everything that's fertility related, I've seen people move through once they adjust what's going on here. And that's really hard for some people to hear. And I totally get that, because endometriosis, for example, super freaking painful, super painful. And it's hard to think that, oh, if I just shift my thoughts, I can shift this thing. It's all in my head. And I'm not saying it's all in your head, like it's not happening. It's real. The pain is real, absolutely. But it's being triggered by something that's not being dealt with here. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'm saying. Like there needs to be some mental shifts or some releasing some emotional blocks. And I haven't seen it fail once, where once the person's done that the physical issue stays around.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You mentioned male infertility. I've read an article recently, not specific about male infertility, but it's about how trauma, so it is again related to past event, emotional wound, how male with trauma can pass on or turn on the genes, or like their child or even their grandchild can be affected by having mental disorder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've read something similar to that actually too. And I mean, I do think in general with both parents, there's I don't really believe that things are hereditary physically, but I do think mental patterns or like that gets mixed up in your DNA, and that stuff does get transferred. I do find that for the most part, the male infertility factor tends to be like they're not in the job that they really want to be in. They're not like fulfilled, because that, for men and women, that the, sexual organ area is the sacral chakra, which is creativity, relationships, and children. And so if we're not being in our creative, this is what I want to do with my life place, and I hate what I'm doing, that's part of it. Sometimes it's if the woman is the breadwinner and they don't feel like they have purpose, because we still have that sort of primal, we take care of the nest and watch the kids and keep the fire going and cook the food. And the guy's like, I hunt it, I bring it back. And when they can't hunt it and bring it back, that does something to their bodies in this sort of primal way. So there's all kinds of causes and manifestations for people, but it is all, in my experience, in my practice, it is all emotional, mental. And if that can be shifted, then the physical can be shifted.
So for women who already focus on eating healthy and, exercise, basically focus on their physical health, but still having issues, so that's possible then because of another cause, right?
Yeah, and what I find with my clients, and I'm sure some of the people that are listening can relate to this. I heard so-and-so took this supplement, and that we're going to take that. So when people come to me, they're taking like 37 supplements, and it's still not working. So why? I'm healthy. I walk every day. I swim. I eat organic. And yes, of course, you want to eat as healthfully as you can. You want to be putting the best fuel in your body, of course. But, and I jokingly say this to my clients, but I am serious as well, like malnourished junkies get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
They're not having kale. You know, like it's okay. Like they don't have the supplements.
Yeah.
So it's really like, yes, that's a part of it, but that's not going to be your make or break whether or not you get pregnant, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of women think that they're already being positive, like you mentioned, like eating organic and exercise regularly, but still nothing's happened. What do you say to them then to help them shift things?
Well, I think most people by now have probably heard of the law of attraction, and it's kind of like a buzzword now.
Mm-hmm.
And, The Secret, and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And so we think like, if I really, really think about this all the time and I eat the right foods and I go to the right yoga class and I do all this stuff, then I'm going to get the baby. And the problem is see how my fists are clenched? Like the energy behind I need to get the baby is like forcing. And law of attraction is like energy attracts like energy. So if I'm putting out, I need to go after this thing, the universe hears it's running away from you. So I go after it, so it runs away from me. So I go after it, so it runs away from me. And it becomes this vicious cycle. So like when I need something to happen, the universe doesn't hear, I want to be a mom. The universe hears, I'm not a mom. What if I never am? It's the subtext of what's going on, not what you're saying. And so a lot of us are like, I'm doing my affirmations and I'm doing my meditation. And like, yes, that's awesome. But you want to be in the mindset of that this is getting you aligned. This is getting you in alignment so that you are ready to receive the baby. Like you've got to work on you. And I mentioned this in another interview, but it's like we want to, we think the baby is the cake. We want the cake, but you are the cake. The baby is the frosting. And if you are still mixing your cake in the bowl, you can't put the frosting on yet. It's not going to work. Like bake your cake first, like get you in alignment first. Then the baby can come. And that's so hard when you feel like you're running out of time. But that's another energy thing. If I feel like I'm running out of time, the universe is matching what I'm putting out. So it's bringing me examples of more running out of time. Like I get a crappy doctor, or the test doesn't work, or I go in for a fertility treatment and that doesn't work. I'm being met with an energetic match to where my head is. So even if you're doing 97 of the right things, but you're in this, like, I need to get it now, that energy it's not going to work. So we have to work on shifting that to being in a place of allowing, receiving, getting excited. Because if I'm excited, I'm being met with excitement. But if I'm going, okay, I'm excited, but the undercurrent is, oh shit, what if this doesn't work? That's what you're going to be met with. So it's just about letting people know that a lot of times where you think you're putting your energy isn't where you think you're putting it. So you want to look at the subtext. What am I really putting out there? Because that's what the universe is hearing. So that's what I work on with my clients, shifting a lot, because that's really the biggest.
So shifting from the go get it, which is the masculine energy,
right,
to, like you said, allowing it, so the feminine energy, right? Trust, and you do everything and then just be now.
And that's so hard, because all of my clients, at least, are super type A, and we're like, at work we go get it done, we're like chop chop chop, like we run the household, we schedule everything. So it is super hard to tell somebody allow. That is hard, and that's what I work with my clients a lot on. It's hard to trust that this thing is going to get taken care of if I take a step back. And so it's really about shifting, like you said, out of that masculine into the feminine, but just checking yourself. Do I need this? Because if I need this to happen now versus I'd love this to happen now. I would love that. I can't wait for the sonogram. I walk back into the bathroom and I see the test is positive. Like, oh my God, what do I do? Like feeling into that, like I'm getting chills and I don't want to be pregnant right now. Like you can really get yourself, when you're in this place of like love and alignment and what you're excited for, that gets your body super relaxed. So your uterus can turn back on and be like, okay, we're not scared anymore. Like we're excited about this versus I'm running out of time. It's such a different energy and we don't realize we're doing it. you know?
Right. Yeah, that just, what you said make me reflect on my own journey, because I used to be that type A woman, just like, was at the corporate setting, and high demand, high, like responsibility. And I just like, I want to get pregnant now, so that's
Yeah.
the thing, the now thing, I'm running out of time. I'm almost, I'm in the late 30s. So until I allow myself to kind of slow down, really just slow down, and I just like choose an activity, yoga at that time. I'm still doing yoga too, but to the point that I just enjoy so much. So I bring back the joy in my life, and I think the creation sparks of joy.
Yeah, because that's the same chakra: creativity, relationships, and children. When you're being creative, you're activating that sacral baby zone, and you're getting yourself in alignment. I'm doing something for me, not I'm doing this to get the baby, because then I'm attached, and that's that need lack energy. But if I'm doing it because, you know what, this yoga makes me feel good, then find things like that are like get you out of your head and just recharge you, for you, not for anything else.
Right, that self-care, that self-love is essential.
That's lacking in the type A department. Like that's kind of
yes. I definitely can say that, because I was one of those, and it took me 9 months, really, but I wasn't focused on my fertility issue anymore, because I was enjoying what I was doing with the self-care, and then learning meditation, and then I was doing retreat, and after that I was just like, I think I'm ready, and I was ready, because I thought I was gonna do another IVF, and thought that the only way for me to get pregnant is just by IVF. But then that intuition, I think, your work is to focus on intuition, and the intuition kicks in, telling me to try to conceive naturally, and forgot about IVF. So I called my doctor and just cancel, or I said postpone it, and we try, and 2 weeks later that pregnancy test.
That happens so often. Like, if we just get out of our own way, it's amazing to me every day.
So what, for these women who are trying to conceive it in a natural route or through assisted reproductive technology, what would you say that the one thing that must be in place for them?
I think 2 things. One, like we've been talking about this whole time, your head needs to be in the right place. Whether you're going natural or whether you're going IVF, there's a reason IVF only works 25 to 50% of the time, or whatever the statistics are now. And it's not because you had that extra cup of coffee that you shouldn't have. It's really not. It's really about where your head is at. And if you go in to that appointment and like, I need this to work, this is my last chance, the universe is hearing, this is my last chance, and it's not going to work. And so it doesn't matter how many, tens of thousands of dollars you spend on it. That's not going to get you a better result unless your head is on straight. So natural or IVF, that needs to be in place, and really be aware of where you're putting out your energy. And then the second thing I would say, and I don't know if this will blend into what we're going to talk about later, but our fight or flight response, that like, do I fight the grizzly bear or do I run away from it? That primal response, we still have that. And it's really annoying a lot of the time, because when we do something crazy, like trying to get pregnant at 41, our brain goes, no, this is a bad idea. Something could happen to us. Something could happen to the baby. This is not a good idea. So it starts throwing all these scary thoughts at you, and they seem real. Because they're so upsetting that we just kind of stay stuck where we are, and we stay in that same loop, which your brain, your fight or flight response, is happy with, because you're safe, you're alive. It knows in the job that you're in, doing what you're doing right now, you're very alive, and that's happy with that. So So a lot of what I work with my clients is working through what these scary thoughts are, because they are tripping your fight or flight switch. What happens when that happens, so your cortisol is like, is that when your fight or flight switch is tripped. For example, when we used to have to like fight large animals and stuff, you need your heart, your lungs, and in case you need to run. You don't need your uterus if you're fighting something or if you're running away from something. You don't need. So all non-essential body systems slow down or shut down, and they go to the parts that we do need.
Yeah.
So a lot of you, I'm sure, will notice like your anxiety gets up and it's like, and it's because that fight or flight switch is like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And you don't need your uterus when that's happening. So it's like the switch goes off in the uterus. And that's what I find with a lot of my unexplained infertility crew, is that it's just that your fight or flight switch is triggered. Again, that could be many things, which is why the intuition portion of my work is important, to figure out what's individually going on with each person. But once we untrip that switch, for example, with my sister-in-law, she was a teacher, she was the department head, she was teaching 2 AP classes, taking 2 college classes, like she's doing 97 things. And so once that sort of calmed down, her uterus was like, okay, we're back. Like, now we can go. Like, because your brain is responsible for keeping you alive. So when you're not taking care of yourself in a way that it's happy with, or like, especially like my teachers, my corporate people, they're already taking care of a bunch of people. So your brain goes, we are literally taking care of too many people as it is. We can't handle another human. So light switch goes off in the uterus. So it's important that it's just a switch. That and it can, if it's flipped, it can be unflipped. If we deal with the emotional cause. So whether it's natural, whether it's IVF or some other, like your head has to be in the right place and not in the oh my god when you go into it, because it won't work.
No, it totally makes sense. The way you explained to the audience that when you're in that fight or flight mode, yes, you don't need your uterus. You need to run. You're ready right away.
No, it's better
right.
Have it working at the time. They've done. I just heard about two studies. There's one about a giraffe giving birth in the savannah, like mid-labor, and she sensed a lion, and all of a sudden, all signs of labor stopped, all bleeding stopped, and labor didn't resume until that night when she was away and safe, away from the thing, and then it resumed. So it's just such a cool, and we are animals, whether or not we admit it, we are, and those same sorts of things happen. Like the body's just like, yep, not safe.
Yeah.
And when we're feeling not safe in one or more areas, that's what happens. And so we just have to clear that up so that your uterus can be like, and we're back. Okay.
Right. Makes total sense. And so I like how you said, just switch on your uterus, just flip it on. And what kind of exercise that women can do to shift that energy then?
Yeah. Okay. Two things I would suggest is a lot of, I would say probably at least 90% of my clients end up shifting either their position within their job or switching their job completely. I think I've maybe had 5 clients where that has not happened. So a lot of us, I would invite you to, like, either in a journal entry or just on a piece of paper, just get your mind really quiet, take a couple of deep breaths, and just write, am I in the job that lights me up or that is my purpose? Or is it something I feel obligated to do? Because a lot of times when we're in obligation, I should do this, or I kind of have to do this, because that energy gets really wonky. And career and fertility are inextricably related because they have to do with our sense of purpose. And more people are being called to be in their purpose versus a job. Yes. And that's a big problem for a lot of my clients. So, and then I would have you just kind of do a brain dump, which is just vomiting on paper thoughts about X topic, and just say, if I could make up a job, like qualities of, I want to work from home 4 days a week, or I want to help people dealing with X thing. Even if you don't know what that looks like, if it has a title or not, write that down. What would be awesome if this thing showed up at your door and was like, we're going to pay you X amount of money to do this thing. What is that? And feel into that daily, because your job is to feel into the what. What would you love? Just like with me. Not how, when, and where it's going to happen. That's the universe's job, or God's job, or whatever you subscribe to. The universe's job is the how, when, and where. And we try to get into that. We try to manipulate that timeline, and that's when we get frustrated, when it's not going on our timeline. But what you can do is focus on what you would love. So I would write that out and feel into that. The other thing I would do is it's going to be awesome when list. So you start each sentence. You don't have to use the word awesome. I overuse that word. I love that word. But you could say great, amazing, whatever you want to say. It's going to be great when I walk back into the bathroom and I see that it's a positive test. It's going to be great when I get to tell my husband. All the things that you're excited for, and start each sentence with, it's going to be great or awesome when. And we want to say when, because going back to that, the law of attraction thing we were talking about before, a lot of the early teachers of law of attraction used to say, you want to speak as if it's already happened. And you can't do that with pregnancy. You can't be like, I'm pregnant, when you're not. You're going to be like, I'm not playing and I'm mad. Right. So we don't want to, that's not helpful. Our brain just shuts down. So, and you don't want to say, it would be great if, because that leaves it up to the thing in the sky, God, universe, pink elephant in the sky, whatever it is you believe in. It would be great if the thing in the sky thinks I'm worthy enough to have a baby. That there's no power in that whatsoever. We're at the mercy of, and that's not empowering. On the flip side, you can't be like, I need to be pregnant by tomorrow. Right. Because that doesn't work either. So you want to walk down the middle of this road, which is like, yes, there's a timing to things that I can't control. There's a timeline that I can't control. However, on the shopping list of my life, I'm choosing that I'm going to be a mom. I can't choose when and where that happens, but I am allowed to choose that. This is a co-creative process that we're living in. I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes, but when we start choosing thoughts that do make us feel good versus the ones that scare us, we get a little more power and a little more power. So we want to say it's going to be awesome when in this list, because you can't control when that happens, but you can control that it is going to happen. You can choose that. And that's what I work with a lot of my clients on, because they would go, well, of course I'm choosing it. I'm doing all the 97 things to try to get pregnant. I'm choosing it. But as we talked about before, their energy is, I need. And so once we back that off and being in a place of allowing, then it's a different story. But we do need to get excited. And that's hard for some people, because they think, well, if I get excited and it doesn't happen, then I'm going to be more disappointed. And I get that, but if it didn't happen, you would be disappointed anyway. You won't be more disappointed because you got excited and it didn't happen. And with that, I would say too, like a lot of times we'll get excited with the caveat that it happens. Like, I hope this is going to happen. That's not going to cut it. You want to be like, I deserve this. I'm choosing this. I'm doing all these things to get me in alignment. I'm excited about this. I can't wait to hold her. That kind of stuff. Then you're legitimately putting out that excited, forward, positive, and that's when you start getting it back. So I would write down like 20 things. It's going to be awesome when, blah, blah, blah. We see the heartbeat, whatever you're excited for, and feel into that every day. As type A'ers, it's a little easy to go, it's going to be awesome when. When I tell my husband, and you don't want to get into this rote memorization thing, like hand on your heart, eyes closed. It's going to be awesome when. You've had awesome things happen to you, I would hope, in your life. So you know what that feels like. You get chills. You want to cry. You want to, you can't stop laughing. We want to get those feelings coming from that, because that's when things shift on a cellular level. When you're feeling it versus thinking it. And so as type A'ers, we have to get out of our heads and into our bodies. So having that hand on there kind of makes you more aware of your body, and feel what that's going to be like when that happens, because it can be a win.
Yes.
You know, we have to take some of that power back, and that's hard when you're on this journey, but it is necessary if you're going to win. You know, like you have to take some of that back. So that's what
yeah. Okay. So yes. So you have to have the mindset of such that when you feel it, as if that things already happen. Yeah.
Sometimes with pregnancy, that's hard to think it's already happened. It's more about like this is happening, and I'm excited.
Okay.
You know, like when we used to I was telling one of my clients about this before yesterday. For Christmas, like a few weeks before, the Sears catalog would put out a book of all the toys, and so we would get on the couch and be like, oh, and we would pick out like 200 toys, knowing, you know, we're not going to get all of them, but we're going to get some of them. And that was exciting. And so that kind of thing, like I don't get to pick when this is happening or how it's happening, but it's happening. And that's exciting. Like I'm about to move out of this being stuck thing, and that's exciting. So it's about finding these incremental, this is going right. And that's exciting. And that's exciting, because we can't energetically go from I've been trying for 5 years to I'm pregnant, I figured it out. Like it's too big of a gap.
Yeah. You know,
so we have to find these incremental things of what is going right. A gratitude journal would be great. Writing down 3 things that went right today. Even if it was like it didn't rain. If that's all you got, fine. like it will get better. But you have to incrementally inch to what is going right, because then it's like, you know, if you're driving in the right lane, I mean, for those of you who aren't in Australia and England, driving in the right lane and you're hitting a bunch of traffic and it's going really slow and and then you put your turn signal on and you move into the left lane and you start zipping along. It's not that the traffic isn't there anymore. It's that you're not aligned with it anymore. So we have to be picking the thoughts that feel good to us. What does feel good? What does feel forward? Because the more we focus on these little things, like there's a spot on the rug, there's a spot on the rug, but it's a beautiful rug, but there's a spot on the rug. The more you focus on the negative, the heavier and bigger that gets. We have to start, it's a rewiring of your brain. It's not easy. But we have to start moving over to, this went right today. That went right today. My body regulated its cycle. I felt when I ovulated. What is going right? That's the most important thing, I think.
Yeah. And this, you know, you mentioned about rewiring, and then goes to the cell. That's the study of epigenetics. So it starts with the brain, you know, neurologic. I'm having problems saying that word. Neurologically, and then to physically, you know, to the body, because then what the brain will produce neurotransmitter, you know, all these chemicals, you know, like, hey, is it good or bad for the body, right? And then it received by the cell, and then it's become genetically, that's turn on the reproductive cell that responsible for turning on that genes and turning on the uterus, you know, switch that on.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, I love this mind and body talk, you know, medicine, for not just for fertility, just I think for all disease. Like you started with cancer and chronic illness, right? Can you tell the audience a little bit about your book that you're writing?
Sure. Yeah, it kind of happened by accident, as everything does. But I taught a 4-week class a couple of years ago, and it was the first class that I was teaching. I had only done like one-on-one coaching, and I was so nervous that I wrote everything, not just bullet points. I wrote every single thing out. Script. And, you know, I have an MFA in acting from back in the day, and so I was like, you know what? I'll just act like I'm saying it. And so essentially, you know, it was a 4-week class. It was touching on the external factors that can be contributing that you might not be aware of. Beliefs that are happening, like I'm running out of time, I'm too old. You know, as long as we are believing that those are true, we're being met with a match to that. So, so dealing with those and turning those around, then we've created a bunch of energy that can go forward to what we want. The body, you know, like the top 10 physical fertility issues, thyroid, amenorrhea, male infertility, PCOS, all of that stuff. What is the emotional cause of that? And then what can you do to move through it? And then a part of the law of attraction. Because a lot of times we think, oh, I just focus on what I want and then I get it. But again, your intention behind it is important. And there are a lot of nuances to it. So it covers those kind of 4 sections, because those are what I find are like the big points, the broad strokes that people kind of have to get or move through in order to shift that. So that's coming out, I think it's July 8th. So it'll be in Barnes & Noble, in stores, and then on Amazon as well.
Okay, next summer.
So it's a good primer. I mean, obviously you don't get the intuition part because that's like working with me, but it gives you like a really good baseline of how to start shifting stuff on your own.
The mindset part of it is big. Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Very exciting. So I'm going to check out that book, Andrea. And for the audience, listeners here, I know you have a free gift. Do you want to talk a bit about it?
Yeah. So if you can go to my website to fusionfertility.com. And there's an icon for the Conceivable Toolkit. So in there are 10 exercises that are energy and mindset related to kind of get you on your way to start cracking into shifting things for you. So that's free. So you just put in your name and your email, and it's automatically sent to you. And then you can get started on chipping away at that until July when the book comes out.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I really encourage the listeners to really check out the gift of that Andrea put together, because who knows, you've been trying for years because fertility struggle is multifactorial, but implementing the right mindset, whatever Andrea suggests, like her recommendation of exercises, plus the other speakers' recommendation. It might, doing simple thing simple improvement like that might get you pregnant.
It might be like you might just only need a little tweak.
Exactly. That tweak, but it's big, that is needed, because shifting from the place of fear, like you said, fight or flight, to a place of just allowing and receiving, that's huge.
It's so much easier to do that, but we're still like, I need to fix it, and it takes so much less energy to just be like, I'm going to get myself in alignment, get myself together, and then I'm just in line with the baby coming in. I don't have to chase it, So hopefully, I don't know how many speakers you're speaking to, but hopefully if everybody's listening to all of them, it will put a dent in this. I am enough. I am not too old. I can actually do this. Because it's hard when you go to the doctor and they're like, you need to get in for IVF immediately. You have no progesterone. You have poor egg quality. It's hard to not take that on and go, oh my God, your capability just goes out the window. It's hard to not, because they're very trained.
Right.
Know what they're talking about. And so we defer. And it's so important that for you to move on, you have to get back in touch with your intuition and to know that you can do this. Like my client that just got pregnant 2 weeks ago, she's 43. She was about to go in for IVF the next week, and something just clicked for her. And through, it was one session of our work together, and it was like, and pregnant. And the baby was fine. And they told her, even with IVF, you have a less than 5% chance of this working, because you have barely any progesterone and your eggs are really poor quality. Well, how is she having a viable pregnancy then?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You have to get your head on straight.
Right. Because I was once, I once read a post on Facebook in a fertility group that this woman was about getting ready to go to, I think it's her 8th or 9th cycle of IVF, like, oh, wish me luck for my, 9th IVF with the bad sperm and an old egg.
Oh God. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just wondering, you just announced that to the world, so just
Yeah.
God, might as well save the money and go somewhere
Yeah.
because I know it's not going to happen.
I know. Yeah. It's so hard to catch ourselves in those patterns of realizing, like, I'm sure she had no idea that she was shooting herself in the foot by going, bad egg, bad sperm. So how is that going to work?
Yeah.
So that's why being able to choose the thoughts that do feel good, it at least gets you clicked over a little bit so that we can then allow it in. Law of attraction doesn't take a day off.
Right.
It's not like it works sometimes, like if you're legitimately putting out excitement, forward, capability, I can do this, that's when it's going to happen, and it takes a while. That's a work in progress. We're not used to thinking like that,
Exactly. Exactly. But yes, baby steps, just start with that, being aware of what you put in your thoughts. That's it. What am I thinking right now? What is my thought around my fertility, and choose the right words and do it repetitively, because that's what changed the neural the brain, right?
And
so
I mean, like you're a good example from getting that intuitive hit of like, I can do this by myself, and then taking steps to go do that. Listen to that. That's so important. We're several generations removed from intuition being a viable barometer of how we're doing. Don't trust it. Most of us are barely even aware, other than the occasional, oh, that alleyway doesn't feel safe, I won't go that way. Like, that's the extent of most people's intuition, so it's important that we get that back. And I think that's often in the whole like grand scheme of things of why you're here on the planet this time around, like things you're supposed to learn. One of those things might be to get that sense of capability back. And it's going to be a life lesson, which, sucks, makes the universe seem like kind of a pain in the ass sometimes. This thing I really want, I'm not going to get this thing I really want until I work through this thing. So give yourself the time and the space to work through that thing, because that is getting you toward the baby. That's not a detour,
Right.
Sometimes it's good. Like, you took a break from like actively trying to get the baby and doing things that get you in alignment. That just, that is the work,
Right.
So.
Right. So put in the work, and it's not easy, but it's definitely doable. Start by being aware, right? Oh, we can talk about this all day long. I love this subject, Andrea. But I really want to thank you again for being here. Your presence in this community of holistic wellness really means a lot to me, and I hope that the listeners will grab your gift and then start implementing your recommendation, doing the exercise, and start making a difference in the way you think. So
Good luck.
All right.
Good luck.
Yes. Thank you again, and yes, very grateful.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you in the next presentation. Bye now.